So I wanted to go to guilt and shame. And in your chapter around this, you write guilt and shame don't help us improve. They just make us tired and sad. And we all tend to just cling to guilt and shame instead of letting them go. And I found you used a great metaphor in the book. You can't shame a caterpillar into becoming a butterfly faster. Yet so many of us become our worst critics. What's your best advice for shifting from self criticism to self compassion?
I think I love using the entrepreneur analogy, which is I am self employed. I have the worst boss and the worst employee ever. And I realize when I'm trying to get myself to do some work that it's not helpful. Like I don't get the results that I want being mean to myself, guilting myself. It doesn't lead to the results that you think. And then you realize, like, hey, this wouldn't work if I was talking to my assistant. I couldn't guilt and shame her. That's not sustainable long term. And I couldn't speak to my employer that way. It wouldn't be sustainable either. So I was like, oh, I can't speak to myself if I'm my own boss, and I can't speak to myself if I'm my own employee in these ways. I think there is an element of guilt that I think is important, which is when you feel like you're betraying yourself, when you feel like you've acted out of your own character. If I'm having a bad day and I'm rude to a barista at the coffee shop, and that's not me, and I know that's not me, I'll feel guilty. And I think that guilt is the authentic guilt that we probably need, which is, hey, that's not you. Let's correct that. I think what ended up happening now is been weaponized. A lot of our emotions have been weaponized via manipulation, via generations and generations of practice where our families, there's a quote in the book that says, your parents know how to push your buttons because they installed them. And guilt and shame become some of the biggest weapons. There's that level of manipulation. So I think for us, is realizing that we have to be our own best friends and we have to just recognize that the guilt that we think we're feeling is really us doing an old practice of trying to metabolize other people's pain. I don't want to let John down. So I'm going to put myself through more pain to so he doesn't feel it. And it sounds noble. John's a resilient person and John can deal with me saying, "Hey, I can't make this interview today if I'm not feeling well." Or we have to realize that like it's not helpful to take everybody's stuff upon us. And also recognize, as I said, you can't guilt and shame a caterpillar into becoming a butterfly. There's a process there. The same way that you can't rip open a caterpillar in a cocoon to help it become a butterfly quicker. Its muscles wouldn't have developed and the wings won't fly. So it's recognizing how often guilt and shame are used and becoming observant when you hear politicians using it, when you hear public figures using it, when you hear your family using it, when you start to realize that, hey, there's an internal dialogue that uses it for me too. And you realize, and I learned this a lot being an educator working with little kids, it's you have to speak to them, you have to motivate them. Hey, buddy, see, you haven't done any work yet. Let's get to work. Because you can't just keep using guilt, shame, and fear on them and realizing that look, when we're talking to ourselves, we're talking to a scared child within that inner child. And the goal here is to be effective and helpful. I'm not talking about what's right and what's wrong or what's ideal versus what's not ideal. I'm talking about what's actually effective, what's going to get you the results. And for me, it's the same thing where it's like, okay, I got to go to jujitsu today, but I'm not feeling good. And then I have the conversation with myself like, hey, are we excuses because we don't want to go, or are we actually just not feeling good? And I can trust myself to have that authentic conversation and be like, hey, look, man, we have a good history with each other. Let's do that. And I think about that as a self employed individual, being like, hey, we've been self employed since 2010. Let's look at our patterns. Have we ever missed a deadline or messed up work because we played an extra video game or we went out to watch a movie or we spent time with friends? No, we haven't. So we're not going to guilt or shame ourselves if we do it today. And I think collecting information about yourself and using that to pick up on your patterns as self-awareness, which I think is an important practice, and it allows you to be nicer to yourself. And when we're nicer to ourselves, we'll get more results. It will give us the results that we think guilt and shame will get us. And this is really important because the guilt and shame will increase the tension, which by default will increase the anxious feelings. And the goal is to feel anxious feelings less so we only feel them when we absolutely need to.